Yeah, so here we go again. Hi there, I'm Ben, I'm autistic. This is solo therapy, my replacement for psychotherapy, my substitute. As you might be able to tell, I am on the road. It is in a hotel room after all, and it certainly does look like one. Um, this hotel is subpar for this chain. In terms of equipment, the AC is good enough. Um, I'd claim it has character, but I guess that's because the service staff are really nice. It's just funny how that works, you know. We'll be having tea again for therapy, and we'll be going with Old Faithful. I have some loose here. Gyokuro Nakatani. I do not have any open packets with me to show you, but I do have this one, my backup spare. It's currently almost 1 a.m., so I'm gonna be a bit quiet, you know. Should probably go to sleep, but I reckon I won't be able to sleep anyways because I have too much stuff on my mind. So that's why I'm doing this. Yay! Uh, there we go. Haven't had this tea in quite a moment, but it's trusty Old Faithful, so nothing could go wrong. My car started running unsmoothly on idle quite a while ago, shortly after last therapy session, that is. My solution for it was book a workshop appointment, bring it in. Initially, they'd said it to take 2 days to run diagnostics. Now they've gone into full-on fixing it, with my blessing, that is. For which the temporal quote was a week. So I got a rental car for a week because their workshop rentals are kind of not in my price league, with only 150 kilometers per day, including price, and after that paying 55 cents a kilometer. I get compensated by work for 38 cents the kilometre after the first 20. First 20 only 30 cents. So that would have been a loss of quite some, 17 cents per kilometre out of my own pocket plus fuel. Not viable. And I think you might be falling. Let's hope you're not. We'll find out. Camera setup is a bit wonky, which is why you're on a very wide angle, but you'll survive it, you know. That's the magic of it. You are in fact resting on my testing setup. And I just spilled water because I didn't see there was already water in my cooling off can, because it's kind of transparent. Funny how that works. Yeah, but with the rental I got, is a Volkswagen T-Roc model year 2024, maybe 25, something like that. Automatic with adaptive cruise control and all. I kind of have no soul. The only resistance you feel with any of the inputs are video game resistance. The car knows you're going faster, so it puts more resistance on the steering wheel, but it don't feel real. It just feels like fly-by-wire. And I'm not actually sure why I don't like it. I think there's several potential sources of my discomfort of that. I mean, first off, it do make driving hella easier, to the point where one I've got to look out not to get distracted by looking out the windows or so. But also, it's helped me understand why so many people are on their phones. I'm still not of the opinion of it being okay being on your phone while driving, but you know, at least I understand why people are now. So it's better than nothing. Another thing is the adaptive cruise control is okay at best. I guess what I'd call it, I had to emergency brake thrice in the first few days, just because the adaptive cruise control did not. Might be user error, but it appears easy enough to use, so who knows. And I do have a front braking assist. Then again, the braking assist happens to also do braking assisting while parking, And when it thinks you're hitting something, such as some grass, so if you're going somewhat off-road, I mean, it is a crossover anyways, which is between hatchback and SUV, you know. So it's supposed to be able to do some off-road. They come in 4x4 for hell's sake, you know, in all-wheel drive. I think mine is only front-wheel drive, the one I'm currently driving, but still, you know. The moment there's some grass in the way, the car floor the brake for you, which do really annoy. I mean, yeah, there is the mandated speed sign recognition and so on, which you can turn off, and you have to when you get in. Well, you don't have to, but highly recommended because it's not always right. And it's really annoying when your car just starts braking for no reason. Don't want people running up your arse, you know. Though another concept might be that I like the manual idea of driving, not particularly manual gearboxes, but manually as in being present and being in control. And with the computer driving, it's kind of iffy, you know. I don't like it because I'm not in control. And I like being in control because I'm human. I don't like change. Then again, it's also because I was trained on proper cars. I was trained on proper cars. I've driven proper cars all my life thus far, all my driving career. And the car doing so much kind of feel uncanny. So, I don't know, you know, it's just uncomfortable. Then again, this car do 230 on the Autobahn. It's the highest I've had it at, and I think it's electronically limited, so the only way I'll get it to go quick is downhill. Because it get there really quickly, to 230 that is. Then again, at those speeds, you really got to assume everyone want to kill you. Oddly enough, at less speeds, you should probably start assuming that. Which leads to another reason, or another thing, not a reason, is last Monday, currently it's Friday morning, 1 a.m-ish. Don't actually know the date is the 4th of July 2025. Last week Monday, I was ran by a lorry on the Autobahn. Admittedly, it was as little bad as a ramming could go, so I got a minor scratch in my passenger side door, and then knocked out the driving light on the front, the main beam, just from a shock is my guess, because in the end of the day it is filaments after all, you know. They didn't pull over, even though I requested it multiple times, pulling in front of them, setting hazard, setting indicator right, and so on. And I decided to not actually report them to the ROSers because what time is worth more, my mental health is worth more. And at the end of the day, karma will come around, you know. I don't got to be the one to dish out karma. Karma works by itself. I like to think so, at least, anyways. How did the lorry ram me? Well, I was going 155, 160 kph, so not an unreasonable speed for the traffic at the time, because there was only the old lorry on the right hand side and the old car on the right hand side. 6 in the morning or something like that. 2-lane Autobahn going each way, dual carriageway. Well, the lorry just decided to pull out as I was maybe 60 meters behind them. So I had to floor it hard. I did a full ABS brake for 3 seconds. Don't quote me on the numbers, by the way. And they ended up just scratching me with their trailer light on the driver's side. At the time, I didn't know. I thought my car could be a wreck because, frankly, with adrenaline, you don't notice how much you're hit. You just notice I might have been hit. I was prepared to get out and have a look later and see the right hand side mangled, not fit to drive. Admittedly, at the time I didn't know rentals were as cheap as I do now. I'm paying, what, $50 a day with full coverage, no contribution on my end, and endless kilometers, infinite, before fuel, but that's the only other expense I got. And it's not too bad. I mean, it is a petrol car, it's not a diesel, so it's somewhat inefficient, but you know, still only $15 per 100k in fuel, so can't complain. I done more kilometers most days than I would have to end up at zero with my compensation from work. So I'm not actually too fussed about it. It's just I like driving in my car. It's not quite a Jaguar, but you know, that's just how it is. So I'm on the road again, not in my canned heat box. Wait, what? Da, da, da. Yeah, it's funny how that works. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, by the way. It's just a lot of shit on my mind. I did do a couple of driving mistakes getting adjusted to the new car. None of that would have been fatal, but you know, don't like cutting people off also. But if you floor it, the car go really quick. It's kind of funny if next time you floor it, it'd take 2 seconds to figure out you looking to actually floor it, because it thinks it sees something ahead also with the adaptive cruise control, and then it doesn't wanna. And particularly at traffic lights, which is another area I now understand why other people act the way they do more so than before. The car stops a car length away from the next car, and if you just give a bit of gas, it doesn't want to go. It's just like bup, bup, bup every time you put your foot down just a bit. Just because the car thinks it's hitting something, it thinks there's a bloody truck also. Then again, toward the front, I'm actually surprised time and time again how much of the car's in front of me. I mean, yeah, it have a proper bonnet and all, a hood, a neighbourhood for the Americans. Ha ha. And it has surprisingly little car behind me, but that's just because I'm used to driving my van. It's just funny when you park somewhere and parking sensors go ape shit the moment you're about a foot away from the next car. So they don't actually say much. They only say you're within a foot of the next car, which for parking is kind of a joke, because I've parked in spots parallel with my van where there was less than a foot's clearance in total, and this car would just non-stop scream you're hitting something, which is kind of a boy who cried wolf story, because in the end of the day, if the car says you're hitting something while you're not hitting something, are you going to believe it when you're actually hitting something? Well, I don't know. I have wondered whether it's an avenue worth figuring out is my own parking sensor or so, but most certainly it's not, you know. Just for hobbies down the road, because one have got to always look for hobbies, keep fun in life. Today, for driving where I am now, I actually driven 2 hours where I could have driven 1, just because I decided I'd not go on the Autobahn, I'd drive the country roads. Not far after the last client of the day, yesterday that is, I did actually pull over in a village at a bakery, had a coffee and some nice ice cream. Weren't even that expensive, so that was quite pleasant. Then later in the night I did order myself some burgers, a burger to here, which was presentable, worth the money in my eyes. I actually had a 4-hour yawn with the hotelier from here, who happens to also be involved in the company running the hotel. So this franchise location, not the franchise chain, And I don't think I've got to name it. People who know it will recognise it from the stuff, and people who don't, well, that's fair enough. I'm too open about it. I can't do this secret stuff. Is the second letter of the alphabet twice over? Day before yesterday or last night, I was in the Hanseatic city of Hamburg, in another hotel of the same chain, franchise system. And I actually was able to use a parking garage, even though it was height limitation 1.9 meters. Because the crossover is what, 1 meter 60 tall or something like that, 1 meter 70 maybe. I mean, I can look over the top of it if I'm stood next to it, so it's not that tall. Which means that going to parking garage is no problem. Then again, back to the previous tangent we were on. The workshop got my car earlier yesterday, sorry for that. I got a call from the workshop from my guy there, I guess what I'd call it, the person responsible for my vehicle and me, saying, you're going to need some more parts and we're going to need some more time. It'll end up costing £2,000 and another week. To be fair, I was more fussed about the week than the £2,000, because originally, before I'd known my car was going to be in the workshop, I'd planned to spend this upcoming weekend, so tomorrow and the day after, in the area here, currently by Bremen, Hanseatic city of Bremen, which is one of the three city-states together with the one I mentioned previously and the one I live in. Stadtländer. There we go. Because they're not states, they're Länder, even in European English. I'd hoped on spending the weekend near here, visiting a friend, and now I've only booked this rental till the Saturday, so tomorrow noonish. Then I've got to return it, and I tried figuring out if I could extend the rental. Turns out you can't, because I booked it via German Automobile Association, but they're not the one providing the vehicle. Which means, yes, I could go to the rental house and try and get an extension, but they're going to charge an arm and a leg. So what was the solution? I went back to the German Automobile Association rental site, and I booked another car for 7 days, starting tomorrow noonish, till a week later noonish, to be picked up from the location I'm dropping this one off at. Which means I'll be going there, picking up that one, taking all the stuff I have in this car, shoving it over in the new car, and handing this one back to them. And sad thing about that is I got to drive 600k one way, and I got to drive both ways just to be able to do that, because I hadn't known the workshop was going to be long. Had I known ahead of time, that would have been a lot of driving saved. Good for the environment, less time for me behind the wheel, even though I like time behind the wheel. And it would have been cheaper for the company. Then again, company got to pay what the company got to pay. That's the good news about being employed. Yesterday, I actually had quite a lot of appointments booked, like 6 or 7, but ended up not being any cause for stress, because, well, it turns out 2 of the locations I went to, the people had moved from months ago, or in one case more than a year ago. Yet the appointments were confirmed in those places within the last 10 weeks. Which I don't understand, you know. Why would you confirm an appointment at an address you no longer reside at? Oh well, I mean, I'm getting paid anyways, even the company's getting paid anyways, because they confirm an appointment, they better be there. If they don't live there no more, they shouldn't be confirming the appointment in the first place, one might think. Do people think? I'm not sure. I have wondered more about doing this short form content stuff, YouTube shorts or so. I've done one single one in the in-between of workation, which was only a short form video thing. I still giggle thinking about it because I'm on vacation and I'm high. You might say I'm looking down on everyone while up on a hill face overlooking a valley with people in it. Fucking lovely. Gotta love flat humour. You can't see it coming when it's there, it's already too late, you know. Last weekend I was at home, Berlin that is. First off, to finish off my testing cart box, which is what the phone is sitting on right now, so I can't quite show you because I won't be able to get back into position after. So I've added a drawer to that. It's a bit tight in the going because I made it a bit wide, just a wee bit. But I've actually thought of that as a feature thus far because it means I can close it and not worry about opening it by itself or gravity assisted. And then I brought my car to the workshop. Had a car from a workshop for a day for testing within the city and nearby. And returned the car to the workshop rental the same day just because I'd already done over 100k. And they only have 150k inclusive. And then I went on recommendation of colleagues via German Automobile Association rental, which is really good pricing. I mean, particularly considering the cars you get. Like, yeah, I'm not booking a Rolls Royce or so, you know, but I'm booking Skoda Octavia equivalents, which is middle class, 4 doors, enough space for my shit in it, shit I need on the road at least, for not much money. I mean, I'd hope to get a diesel, and theoretically I could probably book a diesel, but if I book it, it costs extra, and if I don't book it, I might get anyways, you know. I mean, hell, I booked manual. Yeah, I got an automatic, just because it's what they had on hand. Though I am confident I won't be getting the same car again next week because I'm considering, and probably highly likely, I'll pick up the new rental before I hand this one in. One gripe I do have with the rental place, and that is apparently their payment system don't work completely. So when they done it from the handheld thing out on the lot, I paid, money went off my bank account. They said, oh, it didn't go through. And I said, yeah, it bloody did. It went off my account. Turns out they'd had that issue before, and they just didn't consider it might happen again, or who knows what even. And then they said, oh, but it'll come back, and it have yet to come back, and that was more than 3 days ago. And that's a lot of liquidity I'm giving up. I mean, admittedly, I don't need it now. I'll only need it once I pick up the car from the workshop. Depending on how much driving I'll end up having done till then, I might have to quit on having next month's rent by the beginning of this month. I might only get it beginning next month, but that'll only last a month until that's the concern, so should be fine by me. Plus I'll get compensation for all the mileage I do. On the other hand, payment intervals with the company for mileage is middle of month till middle of month, and I've already gotten middle of last month to beginning of this month because I told my chief, oi, I can do all this rental stuff, but I'll need a bit of liquidity, and I already got all this mileage written down. Could you repay me a bit early? Because at the end of the day, it's money I'm spending on fuel, etc. And they didn't have a problem with it, so I should have a dosh to get through this month, no problem. That being said, at the end of the month, I plan on spending 270 extra bucks on augmentation, is all I'll say for now, I guess, of myself. I am not becoming a Cyberman yet. Tea's good. Drink your tea. If you don't drink your tea, you can't have any pudding. Oh no, wait, that was eating meat, sorry. With my former school class of the fourth secondary school I went to, which was the last secondary school I went to, they are planning on meeting up. Sadly, I won't be making it this time, but they are renting a grill hut, which is a common thing people do in my home turf to meet up at, party, etc. It's usually out in the fields where there's nothing you can disturb and you can do noise all you want all night. Usually you have a fire or do some barbies or so. Though I won't be able to make it, I still contributed a person's worth of money because at the end of the day it's peanuts. It's less than a coffee to go in a lot of places. And that with the note of see this as an investment of mine to keep these meetings going, as this is the first one. And one person in good faith put up the money for everyone, and I wouldn't want them sitting on their cost because then it's not going to happen again. And I want it to happen again because I'd love to attend one of them things sometime. Though I'm not much a drinking person, or a social person, or a noise person, you know, but nah. Got to do socialising sometimes. With this rental car, it's kind of funny because I can pull out when I'd never dare to with my car, out ahead of people, that is, because the car got a lot of acceleration up to like 170 kph, which is about 120 mile, if I had to guess. Maybe a bit less, maybe 110 mile, but got a lot of acceleration up to then. I mean, it's a petrol, but still, you know. It revved till 6,000. That's where the red line is. It's not red, it's blue in that case, but still. And you can't even change the interface. And all the buttons on it are mushy, like membrane buttons. If I were to do something like that, I'd so want mechanical key switches, like even just cherry keyboard switches, you know. Anything but the mushy membrane shit. I mean, they last just as long. Admittedly, you can't have them in as dirty an environment, and they are more expensive. And getting something mechanical in the shapes you need for this kind of stuff, or the sizes, would be hella expensive, but it'd be hella comfortable. One thing I've considered doing a short about, and I might still, assuming I manage to get around to it before Saturday noon, is the volume knob on the car, because I have a volume knob, but I have the standard off-on symbol, a circle with a line going through it, out one side. And when you turn the volume knob, that's no longer centered. Now, if you could only turn the volume knob to adjust the volume, that'd be fine, because then it still physically represents something. That is the position of one on a circle or something like that. But you can also adjust the volume from the steering wheel, which means that knob is absolutely worthless. Which means me being autistic, I can't actually use the bloody knob to adjust it because then it's no longer aligned. Which means I end up using the steering wheel, which is quite difficult if you're actually doing village driving and steering. Then again, with all the steering one don't got to worry about gas in that car too much. You could drive it without feet, really. Unless you have to emergency brake, that is. Which is funny, you know. Another thing I've brought along this go round, ever since I was at home last weekend, and I will be bringing again for the following weeks if I haven't used it yet this week, is a thermos just like this one, which says Wasser or water, because it's for hot water. But the cafe version, apparently I only labelled this one in German, but still, together with a V60 equivalent filter thing, some coffee powder, and I bought some filters recently, just so I could have coffee on the road, because buying coffee to go is hella expensive and not worth it. It's just, so fucking expensive. Money out the window, but I ain't got no money because I'm leaving it all at Volkswagen and at car rentals. Then again, with Volkswagen, I also had some shit done that didn't need to be done. Just because they've done an overall check over and they're doing all the stuff I request, which is the only thing they're not doing that could be done, is one of the underfloor covers have a crack in it. I've had a crack in it for longer than I've had the car. I ain't fussed about that and it wouldn't be too cheap, so I told them I'll leave this be. But some other things like a hanger, one of the rubber hangers for the exhaust bit off, so they're redoing that and so on, and they figured out what the problem was with it not running around. Interesting enough, I didn't actually care, so I don't remember, but it'll say on the bill. My suspicion, and the suspicion of people in my circles who might asked, was it's probably something like the AGR valve, EGR ventil. I don't actually know what the abbreviation is for, but in the end of the day, it's feeding back exhaust gases into the intake to avoid nitrogen oxide buildup and emissions. Because apparently that's not shit you want, because, ask an environmentalist, who knows, but I probably would know, but I'm starting to get quite sleep deprived, which is good news, because it means I'll be able to sleep once I'm done here. Then again, tomorrow I got to get up, later today I got to get up at 6 a.m. and the time now is 1:20, so it weren't actually 1 when I started this. It was not a lie, but it was an untruth. One thing I keep doing, just because it's usually not doable any other way, is fronting for the company parking costs for these hotels. Admittedly, the one I'm at currently haven't implemented that yet, so you don't got to pay for parking. But most of these second letter of the alphabet twice chains, hotels or franchises, require you to pay somewhere between $6 and $15 a night for parking, which with a company vehicle obviously one would want to do, or with a private vehicle with company stuff inside one would want to do. Here, interesting enough, even if it were paid, you still wouldn't want to leave anything inside, because there have been the past burglaries into cars here. Some ranging into the 5-figure range of damages with GPS tracked things, but the plod didn't seem to care. As far as I was told, I was not there, I did not interact with the plod, but you know how it is. So that's something. Got one appliance tester right below you there in my portable box, and another one even further below you in my backup box of spare cable sockets and so on, extension cords, shit like that. Because apparently that's a defect, the main defect home office people have is multi-sockets with too small a cable cross section. Because the conductors need to be 1.5mm squared to be compliant for business use, with the exception of theoretically below 1.3 meters in length, you are allowed 1mm squared, but we do not tolerate that exception. So for us it's 1.5 and up, which means I actually end up finding a lot of those. Then again, with those, we got a code for annotations for saying, oh, the cross section is too small, but have been taken out of order, out of service, which then means it don't count toward the defect count of the place you're at. Because otherwise, a lot of home offices would immediately fail and would have to halve their frequency of testing, at least according to the accidental insurance, because that's how it works, over 2%. Well, none of them places have more than 50 appliances, so it's always over 2% if you have any defects at all. Thus far, I've only had 2 rather critical defects. One where the protective earth was not really a separate conductor to the LN, so it was the isolation resistance that was not enough, was only quarter of what's supposed to be. Another one where the case of multi-socket was so broke, with a plug in it you couldn't see it, but when you pulled the plug out you saw the edge of the plug of the outlet, there we go, was actually totally fractured and missing, and that's asking for trouble. Besides that, it's all been really mediocre things, Last week I was actually not on the road all that much. I was on the road, I was not home, but we actually tested some labs and that was fun. Get a bit of a change of environment. I spent 2 days in one bloody big lab room, test chamber, and I actually found a lot of defects there. Admittedly, as some colleagues said, you could let that pass, but with being a PAT tester and all, I'm qualified as an electrician PAT tester these days, and I don't want to pass something that someone else would fail. I don't want to be that guy. Oh yeah, Ben passed that, so I'm sure it'll fail next time, Don't want that. I want to do a proper job, want people to be safe, want to cover my own arse, for hell. I mean, come on. In the end of the day, it's a matter of doing my job right, and there is very few grey areas. In the lab, for example, an e-box for a control device was open, and the lid was next to it with the screws in it. I closed that up and tested it. If it were open, that'd be a default fail. And a default fail of major significance, not a minor fail. Immediate threat of life fail, which means no good. Take out of order, no matter what. Can be fixed, but really got to be careful. And I just screwed the lid on and tested it because that wasn't much of an inconvenience. Then again, same test chamber, 2 other of the same cases were tied to some rack with cable ties, and the lids were nowhere to be found. I failed both of those because I got to be able to live with my passes, what I make pass, what I have pass, and I don't want to be that guy, Oh yeah, he passed it. I'm sure it'll fail next time. Oddly enough, with doing home office people in the time that I was not in the lab of the last few weeks, I mean, I've been on the road for almost 3 weeks now, and had a week of labs in between. It's surprising because a lot of them expect me to just rock up with a clipboard and nothing else, maybe some stickers. But the thing is, yes, 95% of defects feels like anecdotal, failed due to visual inspection. Then again, the other 5% failed due to electrical inspection, missing protective earth, bad isolation resistance also, and one have got to document stuff, which means you can't just put a round sticker on it which says passed, and good, I did not break a thing yet. Let me just find one of the passed stickers. I got them somewhere. And I broke my drawer. Oh well, It's only snot glue anyways. It's not broke yet. Yay. It is a video format after all. I can do some show and tell. These here are completely worthless. They're only to show you when something was tested. In this case, they're blanks, so they don't tell you nothing unless you put some dots on them. What is worth something is something I can't show you because it have the party we're doing the testing for's logo on it. But that's barcodes because they're unique, which means you can actually say, "Ooh, this thing have this protocol," which is all that matter. The round stickers are only nice because they show you, "Ooh, this haven't been tested in a while. Oh, this was missed for the past few go-rounds." But besides that, they don't tell you nothing. I mean, look, even my cup is tested. It's so tested that by now I've actually worn off the text by my thumb. Because it's where I rest my thumb to drink tea. Funny how that work. Yeah, the draw's not going to be too big an impact. Ooh, I snot glued the draw. Which means, you wouldn't believe it, I got my snot glue gun. I'd ordered it on the 30th of April, paid it the same day. Expected delivery time 2 weeks. After 3 weeks, I asked him, "Oi, this was supposed to be here last week. When's it going to be here?" "Oh, next week." 2 weeks later. 2 weeks ago, he said next week. Next week has come and gone. Now we have another week later. "Oh, it'll be there tomorrow." Well, whenever you do send it, please send us a tracking. Nothing. So I set him a deadline of the 30th of June, which is basically a legal method of forcing their hand, because if they haven't by then, I am legally entitled to buy elsewhere and get the money back from them in the end of the day. Not the money from buying it from them, but from buying it elsewhere for their price. So the delta. They'd have to compensate me for it. Turns out they managed to get it to me just before the 30th of June. Weekend before, so that would have been the 28th. I got it. Turns out I got a snot glue produced by a German company in Romania and exported to the UK just to be re-imported from the UK to Germany because this company could not source anywhere else. Admittedly, I only bought it from that company because they were the only one to sell the version I wanted. But you shouldn't be selling stuff you can't buy. Come on. Why would you? And the funny thing is they still have a sale. So I could go on their page and buy 10 more. And I'm pretty sure this was a loss for them, the sale. But at the end of the day, they agreed to the bloody contract. I didn't force them, you know. They've listed it on their page and they accept bank transfers for prepayment. In which case they have to fulfill their side of the contract. And they ain't even learned from it. Admittedly, had they said, "Oh, we've got some supply chain issues, it's going to be a moment longer than we anticipated," before the 2 weeks is up, or even before I wrote them after the 2 weeks is up, that would have been fine by me. But they only communicated in response to my complaints. It's not a way of doing business. Come on. You want customers to have their expectations at least met, if not superseded. And if you can't meet them, you can at least lower them to make them meetable again. That is, "Oh, we know you ordered this with 2 weeks expected delivery time. We've got some import troubles. It's going to be 5 weeks. But you don't tell me that after 4 weeks after I've asked what's going on. You tell me that before I ask what's going on, or before the 2 weeks are up you were supposed to deliver within in the first place." Competence. Yeah, safe to say I won't be doing business with that company no more. And that's even though on the phone, their answering machine have real nice dialects, trying to speak proper Hochdeutsch. Though evidently it's not Hochdeutsch, because otherwise I wouldn't be calling it a dialect. And I think I'm starting to tear off the front of this drawer by fuddling about with it. I better stop, because if I tear the front off, it's not going to be operational to keep my stuff safe. After the last solar therapy, I did walk myself some blisters in Nuremberg, a historic city of Germany, which is primarily known for trials of the Nazi regime, crimes against humanity, war crimes, etc. It's a beautiful city, very historic. I even went to a tourist trap there to have Nuremberger sausages, which is small and thin. I knew it was a tourist trap, I didn't mind, but the service was so abysmal. I mean, first off, yeah, okay, food was alright, they overcooked the sauerkraut, etc., but what do you expect? But then I'd order Willy, so pear schnapps after food, which is what you do to digest, particularly if you don't got to drive. A lot of people do it when they got to drive, but I ain't had to drive, so I ordered it because I don't drink and drive. Took them 3 orders and half an hour to get me there. Then I asked for the check for the bill to pay. That took him 15 minutes. And then I asked for a receipt for my payment. She said, oh, I'll go inside and go and get it. Went inside, came back out, went to the road, got an ice cream, ate their ice cream. After 15 minutes, I'd had enough, and I just fucking stood in the door of the tourist trap, smoking one cigarette after another, just because, you know, I ain't got to be pleasant, it's bloody legal outside the bloody door. Until I got my receipt. Turns out, the person to get me the receipt was a new hire, which I don't know what the person who served me thought, but evidently they thought they were better because they didn't bloody do their job. Obviously I didn't tip, because waiting half an hour for your schnapps is not viable. It's supposed to be there for digestion. If digestion is already well off the way, it's kind of a bit late. Better dinner I had, because I spent 2 evenings in Nuremberg. One day was just a dead day, no appointments. The better dinner I had was most certainly ice cream and coffee. Felt really adult doing that. All the food places had already closed because it was during the week after 10 p.m. But the ice cream place was still open. And they didn't have to have the kitchen warm, because ice cream apparently is not warm. Who the fuck? Up, down, no, wait. So I was really happy with that. But the tourist trap place, I mean, yeah, the food was about what I expected. It was tourist trap food. I went expecting fucking culinary greatness. I wanted something okay, and it was okay to mediocre, which was within the range of expected and hoped for. And again, that's because I set my expectations low, but still, they met the expectations in food. But the service is so abysmal. I mean, I'd leave them a rating, but at the end of the day, what's the bloody point? Karma will get them, you know. And I mean, you can't go there and not know it's a tourist trap, so everyone know the food's going to be mediocre to okay at best. But it's a tourist trap, you'd think you'd get some good service. I mean, come on. It's not like people in this country, in Germany, rely on tips, but in tourist places they still like tips for freshen up their wallet, you know. And some even lie to tourists saying, oh no, tipping's mandatory here, which is a dick move. Disqualified from tips by me immediately if I see someone do that. Bloody hell, you ain't getting a cent out of me for tips. I'll go the extra way of making sure you don't get a tip from me if you do that. But I guess that's just karma working its way. Not really, but I tip for extraordinary service, and ripping off other customers is not extraordinary service. You know, because that means they'd rip me off if they got away with it. And not doing something because you don't get away with it don't make it any less bad. It mean you didn't try to get away with it because you knew you weren't gonna. You do the right thing. Not because it's hard, but because it's the bloody right thing to do. How hard could it be? That reminds me of the talk I had with the person from this hotel. If anyone might have figured out the hotel I'm in and might have been here before, one might say they are in the deal of mystical Persian carpets. I'm not saying any more because privacy and shit. They have a right to their privacy. So that's not actually a problem I have, a secret I have problems keeping. But they're bloody good character, man. I like him. And they truly appear to be of a good character. I mean, I only had 3 or 4 hour yawn with them outside. They like talking. I certainly don't mind. I'm good at listening. And it's not like they were talking shit. It was just telling stories, and I like hearing stories. They were based in reality, and some of the stories were older than I am. Funny how that works, you know. Then again, I'm what, quarter century of age? I'm not that old. I like to think so anyway. I did actually manage to go by a tea joint on Tuesday before I left for the very north of the country. Got some more tea, not this Gyokuro I showed earlier, but instead 100 grams of Sencha Haru and 50 grams of Sencha Nakatani, which is what I use a different Kyoso for. Not getting that because I'm not getting up. But today, as we're drinking Gyokuro, this is the Kyoso. I'll show you it in 30 seconds if I think of it. But I actually left a decent chunk of money at the tea joint again. Then again, it's always a pleasure leaving money there. Because what do money buy you? I mean, yeah, okay. Food in your stomach, roof over your head. Maybe some comforts in life, smoking also. But once you've got enough money for that, you don't need more. I don't, at least. Some do. Some people appear to live for money, which I would never get, because what does money give you once you have what you need? I mean, admittedly, I have this tea stuff, which is rather luxury, but is within affordable luxury. Anyone earning minimum wage or more, minimum wage by definition is the minimum one should be earning for full-time work. This is a Kyoso, by the way. Should be able to afford this, assuming they aren't being ripped off on the rent side of things, which sadly I believe some people are. Well, it's kind of a horrendous place. Then again, it's not getting any better. Another thing I was thinking of, with the rental car, but only because it's particularly clean and is a bit quicker than mine and is less aerodynamic for its cross section, I believe, to have more collision areas for bugs and so on, is only because they're not vertebrates. We just say, oh yeah, a lot of bugs on the roads these days. Look at the front of the car, that's smashed full of bugs. But in the end of the day, each of those was a life we took. One might even go so far as to call it genocide, of which peoples, well, of all these insect species on the car, that live on the Autobahn, or above the Autobahn, or near the Autobahn. I'm pretty sure that, besides being insects, would qualify for peoples. If you say, oh yeah, the humans living near the Autobahn, eventually that's going to be peoples. Like, come on, it's genocide. Then again, what mode of transport that is not walking does not do insectal genocide? Then again, admittedly, in terms of overall mass of these species and or overall count, it's but a rounding error. Not even that. Then again, it's still murder. I mean, when I drove on the barn, I knew it was going to be dead bugs. I didn't know how many, but I accepted there was going to be dead bugs. And I killed them stone cold anyways. Sometimes I wonder about these things, but then again, in this society, we do just accept the fact that bugs die when we drive cars. I mean, a lot of things die of driving cars. Here, a few years ago, apparently, right next to this hotel, a couple of baby squirrels got run over. I mean, yeah, okay, it happens, but still. This is a fairly low speed limit. It's within settlement, so it's 50 kph, which is 30 miles an hour. And it must be really hard to actually run over animals at these speeds, because not like all the animals, particularly baby squirrels, just run in front of your car, you know. They got a will to live as well, and you kind of got to almost be active to get something at those speeds. Because what's your braking distance? 15 meters maybe? Including reaction time, something like that. You know, maybe it's 20, 25 meters, but still. I mean, at the time of collision with a human, you'd be going rather slow. And yeah, okay, if it hop out of a bush and underneath your wheels, well, it's flat. But I have a hard time believing things that probably ain't even got any pelt on them managed to hop out on the road all that quick, you know. And they were vertebrates, which means we as humans care more about them because they share some of their bodily structure with ours. Then again, that's also why the squirrel had a throw of five baby squirrels, apparently. 2 didn't even make it long enough to get the chance to be run over, and only one of the remaining 3 was not run over. If it survived beyond that, we do not know. For the next week, I've got a different rental. I'll find out what it is tomorrow afternoon, noon. It'll be fun because in the end of the day, this car is starting to get to the point of filthy, just on the outside because bugs and dust and so on. And I did not have the option of extending it, sadly, because I do have the next car for a bit longer and also for some weekend time. And it's also a bit fancier car. I am spending almost $5 more a day on it, which means I have to drive almost 30 more kilometers per day just to end up at 0 with cash back from my boss. Then again, spread out over the week, I am very confident I'll end up not in negatives because I'm driving across the entire bloody country. I've done what, 1500k this week already, and it's Friday morning. Still got to get back to Berlin. I might end up at $2,000 again, you know, in kilometers. It's funny how that works. 2 megameters. With documentation of these Home Office people, I'm actually really proud of myself because so far I've only ever once not scanned the ticket for the first device, and with that I managed to annotate the next one. Oh, the previous one was the same ticket. I've managed to document everything completely. One time a person did not have a doorbell because apparently the wrong house number was given. I rung their phone twice and I was just about to document their doorbell not existing. I was taking a picture of the existing doorbells and writing it all up and so on, and then they called me back, so then I did go and test them. It's not like they had all that much, I had 5 devices. In fact, that day most clients had an average of 5 devices out of 5 clients, which means I'd done 24 total, I believe it was. Not much. It's not even an hour's work. It's maybe half an hour's work if it come up to it. But done a lot of driving. I mean, today it was 6 hours. Admittedly, it could have been 5, but still. 6 hour driving is a lot of driving. I like driving in my car, though that's not my car, and it's also not a Jaguar. Anyways, I think I'm starting to ramble, or I started quite a while ago. I'm hoping it all goes smooth. At the frequency I've been doing these, you'll next see me when I have my own car running smoothly again. We'll see. Or we won't, we'll see. I hope you do well. Stay safe, I'll see you around. Cheerio.